Hey everyone, this is Pig for Life. In today's P4L review, we'll be taking a look at the newest figure, or at least one of the newest figures from FPCore. This is their FansProject WB-008 Trianix Alpha. And I know what you're thinking, it says Trianix Alpha. That is a mistake, and they are trying to correct that with some extra stickers, which are kind of funny, along with the replacement parts for the waist, which I already showed off in another video. If you didn't see that fix, go ahead and click on the link that's probably floating around somewhere, probably here, and you'll get this fix. So that fix has already been done to this figure. All right, so let's get started with packaging review. And as you can see, it comes in the traditional kind of Warbot FansProject box. Get some nice artwork here, and as you can tell, this is a kind of pseudo homage to the Diaclone's Diabattles or Diatron. And just to let you know and get this out of the way up front, I know next to nothing about Diaclone. It's not something I've ever collected. It's not something that I know a lot about. So if you guys hate me for that, go ahead and start commenting as soon as you can. But otherwise, I'm just going to try to give you my fair assessment of this product as a general transforming toy, and not directly as an homage or representation to the original Diaclone figure. All right. Just some numbering up here. So WB standing for their Warbot line. And this was, I think, originally made available from FansProject Core, FPCore, to their premium members for a discounted price. This is a review sample that they sent me, so this is something that they sent me to do a review. It's not something that I was actually really interested in, again, because I don't have a Diaclone fascination or nostalgia. So yeah, just get out of the way that this is a review sample that they did send to me, which is kind of weird for me because I typically don't get review samples. So let's go ahead and get this guy out of the box. And here we go. So as you can see, you get Trianix Alpha over here, as well as the little gun, which is actually in multiple parts. We'll look at that in a second. And then the only other thing you get is a instruction manual, which is pretty bare bones in the sense that it doesn't really show you a lot. The instructions themselves are pretty decent, but there's a lot going on here. So I'll show you a little bit more detail of how you can get everything in the right place in all these different modes. So first thing out of the box, one thing I wanted to talk about is, I think when he first comes out of the box, his feet are kind of like this. His toes have a slight articulation, and they're kind of down like this. And this kind of causes problems because if you look at it from the side, you can't really get a good flat-footed pose with this. And it took a while for me to realize that he does have some toe articulation. So if you just grab here and bend that down, you'll see this little nub piece come out. That's how you know that you have the toe oriented correctly. And as you can see, that actually gives you a proper kind of like foot that sits flat. All right, so that's note number one. Number two is, I think this was positioned kind of like this. The heel, it stands fine like that, but if you want to get a little bit more heel articulation, I think this is how it's supposed to be designed, but I don't think they show it in the instructions because they don't show much of his combined mode. I think it's supposed to be flipped out like this. All right. So yeah, that's really it for just kind of need to knows, I would say. The second thing, let's just get him transformed kind of correctly, get his little wing pieces out there on a little hinge here that you can swivel around. Oh, really quickly, my review area is not very stable, so some people have been asking if some certain figures I've reviewed recently are stable or not because they look kind of wobbly. This is just my review area. I need to adjust this because as you can see, it like flexes a lot and it's actually curving. He does come with this weapon here, and it comes in several pieces. We'll show it off. These pieces here, this part in the front comes off, and he has a handle which can flip down and has a little peg that you can use for his alt mode. Pretty nicely done. I guess it would have been nice to have some more color in here besides just the molded plastic, but the molding detail is pretty nice. And then once you get it apart, you actually have additional molded weaponry. So that's good. He can only hold it with one hand because it has a sliding notch, so it uses the sliding notch mechanism as opposed to a tab. So you can only hold it in his right hand, which is pretty much a bummer. I don't like being restricted to only being able to do that, especially considering he has a little notch on this side. I guess you could probably do something to make it work, like hold it backwards, I suppose, and maybe it's more like a missile launcher kind of thing. Yeah, I guess that's passable, but it would have been nice if they had notches on both sides, or if this rotated somehow. So yeah, that's a little quirk that I don't really understand why they did that. As far as overall looks, he looks pretty good. I like his overall proportions, except his head. I think his head looks super tiny in comparison in this mode. He does feature like the whole core bot, or core, what they're calling Soleron. So he has three. So he has one in the shoulder here, a main one here, and another one on the other shoulder. And the names are Melix or Melix, Balthazar, and Casper. And don't ask me which one is which, because I have no idea. And they're all interchangeable. You can take them out, swap them around. You can even take these out of the shoulder pieces and close this up. This tab in, and then you can actually swivel this around to still get that wingy look on his shoulder, which is nice. I actually like that playability from that aspect. We'll go into how to transform this guy later, but let's go ahead and take these guys out so you can get a look at what you can pose him like without his Solerons. He does have like a gaping hole in his chest without that one, so at the very least I would recommend keeping that one in. The other two, I think it actually looks better without this. It does harken back to the Dia Battles original toy and colors because of the red, blue, yellow, and like kind of chrome. So in that respect, what little I know, I think it looks fairly good as an homage, but it definitely detracts by and large. Doing a quick 360, you can see some treads on his arms and legs. Fairly clean back. He does have a little bit of back here, but nothing too atrocious, and nothing that interferes with his articulation. He does have some nice molded pieces in different colors, but there isn't a whole lot of paint from what I can tell, aside from on the Soleron and on these little wing pieces. The chrome here is really nicely done, though, so I always appreciate that. As far as articulation, let's actually look at his face first. So his face, I think, again, is a little too small. It does look very Battlesy, which is cool, or Diaclone, but I think it's just really, really tiny for the body, right? Like, I mean, it's way smaller than one of his hands, which just doesn't really make sense to me. So he kind of has gorilla-like proportions in that sense. Super Popeye arms here. He does look good in terms of his articulation. He does have a decent amount of articulation going around. His shoulders are restricted, though. That is just too limited for me, in my opinion. I thought there might be another way to get some additional pieces out here, or clicks out of here, but it doesn't look like it. If I'm doing something wrong, definitely let me know. But it is nicely ratcheted. He does have bicep swivel. He does have double jointed elbows, but because of his Popeye arms, you get a little bit of limitation there. He has a swivel for a hand, and then he has one molded finger piece, all four fingers there, no thumb articulation whatsoever. And we've already talked about these pieces that swivel around in various directions, and that you can open these up should you want to install those other Solerons. His waist actually has like two different places, so he has kind of an upper swivel here and a lower swivel down here. I don't really like that. I would have liked the upper body, this piece, to kind of solidify the top half and then just use the lower body for articulation. But I guess it's a little bit of extra articulation if you'd like it. And I guess it does make it look a little bit more dynamic in certain poses, but I just think it looks a little too gappy in others, especially since this doesn't really secure in anywhere. He does have ratcheted hips, and then again, some limited articulation here. He does have a thigh swivel, though, so you can kind of move that out of the way a bit to get a little bit of more outward hipward action. So in addition to that upper thigh swivel, I guess, he actually has this separate thigh cover piece, which you need for transformation, and that's nicely chromed out. He does have double jointed knees, so he can go all the way back, more than you would ever really need. He does have toe articulation, so he can pivot in and out like this, forward and back on ratchets, and I showed you that one joint here earlier, as well as that little bit of heel. The heel is separate, and there's no actual heel articulation though on that part. You got that spur, and that's about it. The head is on a ball joint. I don't think I mentioned that earlier, but the way the head is on this kind of platform, it has a chest piece that moves in and out, and I don't really know why. There's articulation there, and the way this is supposed to kind of sit in, it doesn't actually tab in. There's a little lip, but it doesn't stay securely. So that is kind of a bummer. I don't understand why they did that. But yeah, that's it. So I do have some complaints about the robot mode, some proportion stuff, and some articulation stuff. But overall looks, he doesn't look bad. He looks pretty cool actually. And like I said, the chrome and the colors are really, really vibrant. He does have paint. I mean, if you're a paint guy like Skullface, I mean, there's paint here, here, here. Mostly, I think it's well done on the Solerons. And he has a little bit here. Aside from the paint, the chrome, I think, is really well applied. I will say that the plastic here, though, does have a little bit of speckle on the blue, which is quite nice. It's not. Quick comparison with another Warbot from FansProject. This is their Assaulter, or their version of Broadside. So pretty tall. I would say, I guess, kind of a Voyager-ish. Larger Voyager, I would say. So yeah, let's go ahead and show off the transformation. Let's go ahead and do that with the Solaron first. And they all transform the same way. So you just go ahead and pull the legs down. They're tabbed in on the sides. And then these pieces where I guess the arms fit are an over and under. So you want to pull up on one side here. And then this whole piece, the two halves are actually hinged. So you push them back and they kind of have a tab, but not really. That's one of the things I have a complaint about with these little guys, is that they should tab in more securely. The head is on a ball joint that is flipped up and turned around. And this guy's pretty cool too. Let me see if I can focus on him real quick. There we go. This guy's pretty cool. I think he does have decent articulation, so he does have a ball jointed shoulders. He does have an elbow bend. He does have ball jointed hips. And then he does have a swivel or a knee bend there, which can go pretty far. And the head's on a bobble too. So this guy kind of has like an Optimus face. He has the face mask, or like hotspot, but he does have like the crest like Optimus, which I'm sure is very intentional. He does have a little bit of paint here, but most of the paint resides on the outside. I wish there was a little bit more paint on the inside, but I think for the purposes of friction and everything like that, they didn't want that to get all scratched up. So the same thing on all these guys. Again, just fold them out. The only reason I'm even showing you this is to show you that they all have different heads. This one also has a face mask, but it has kind of like a Decepticon cresty look to it. Alright, get this guy over here. He's the yellow one. We'll just call him Balthazar just because. And this is the only guy that actually has like a face. So yeah, here are the three guys, the Solerons. Let's get them out of the way for now. Let's get started with this guy. So there's three parts for his transformation. We're going to go ahead and just separate all three parts at first, and we'll handle them one at a time. So to get the arms and jetpack, which are one piece, you unpeg them here. There's a peg and a tab. And then just be careful here because it's actually on a sliding joint, so you want to slide up and then pull out. You'll see these rectangles go in here and then slide up. So just be careful on that. Let's put this down. The waste is where the waste fix was. Again, if you have problems or you broke it, you should be getting your waste fixes in the mail if you haven't already. You just go ahead and apply some pressure at this lower part here, right below this little windshieldy piece. That's piece number 2. And here are the legs. So let's go ahead and start with the legs. The first thing I like to do is go ahead and extend the legs like that. And then if you have your toes the way I mentioned before, go ahead and get them into the default position where it's all hidden. That nub is hidden. I'm going to straighten out like this. And then come around to the back, flip out these little windshield pieces. And then you're essentially just going to peg these two halves together. But the first thing you're going to do is pull down on this tab piece on his butt. Come on. Oh, sorry, that's really tightly done. Doing that unlatches this little hook here, and then you can bring this up, and this becomes a seat. That also frees up the hips to rotate back a bit. And you're going to want to rotate the thighs like so. And the reason you'll do that is because these thigh pieces, right here, the chrome piece will go right into the seat. And you'll need these T-like pieces to be facing, I guess, down. Yeah, down. Alright, so once you have that done, you can go ahead and basically put together the two halves of the legs. And there's several tabs. So there's an over and under tab here on the knees. Then you have two tabs on the ankle here. And then a tab here on the windshield. And then you have an over under on the 2 feet. There we go. So this piece here, you're going to want to rotate around like this. Get these little tabs into the heels. Or the I guess kind of the heel of the foot, the toe, back part of the toe. They don't show this in the instructions, but most definitely this is how it's supposed to work. Because once you do that, those little tabs go right in to the feet here. And this makes up the front of the, I don't even know what you would call it. It's almost like a bulldozer. Alright, from here, what we're going to want to do is fold up at the double jointed knees, and this T piece here is going to go into this T part here. I guess right now you can, these treads are double hinges, you can just extend them down. I wish these tabbed in somewhere to secure it, but right now they don't. So go ahead, do those double jointed knees. Come on, there we go. Get them down, line them, and just tab in like that. Yeah, so there we go. What you'll need to do though is go ahead and get your gun and separate that into two halves here. We're going to use this for the cycle-ish piece. These two gray pieces are what we're going to use for this, and we're going to use this for the other. So this will just come up and tap here and here. And this is it. You got this weird kind of bulldozery thing. It has treads that don't have wheels, and there's no wheels on the front. It's a weird looking mode, honestly. It's, I guess, kind of tankish, but overall it's kind of like meh, in my opinion. You can bend the knees of your Solaron. Here, let me take this out so you can see it. So there, these two tabs here actually slide into this piece in the back. So I'm trying to show you how that works. Go in. Come on, get in. Oh, messed up. There we go. And you just push back on that, and that tab's in there. And you have your little Soleron gun. You can go ahead and plug these back in. He's got a little dinky windshield that he sees over and not through, which is kind of weird. Alright, so it looks like, it kind of does look like folded over legs. So let's go ahead and put this in the background. The next piece we'll do are the arms. These are pretty easy. The first thing we'll do is go ahead and pull here. There's tabs that secure this into place. You're going to have it sit like this at an L. The arms will fold all the way in, and those pegs here will form. There we go. The arms, use the double jointed elbows to tilt them out and to the side like that. And then these tabs will go into these little T slots here. So they're T-shaped tabs. They go into those T-shaped slots. Bring up this front piece with the treads. And you'll see these tabs here will go into those tabs on the shoulders. Those lock into place into the front. There we go. And then these treads are actually on a sliding joint. They diagonally slide down. It doesn't feel like they lock into place anywhere, but I thought they might, but I can't feel that. The arms, the fists just hang out in the back, which is kind of a bummer. These yellow pieces fold up. These yellow pieces fold back. And you'll see this tab here corresponds to that slot, like that. Same thing on the other side. There you have your other tanky kind of thing. You take this part of the gun, fold that down. You got this tab here that goes into the front. So this back piece here is where the driver sits, the Soleron sits. So take one of your Solerons, bend them up, and then these two tabs actually correspond to his butt. So they kind of sandwich his butt into place. There we go. And there we have the other alt mode. And then we'll go to the third, which I think is the coolest looking, and actually looks more like some kind of vehicle, is the middle, which is the cycle, or some kind of cycle looking thing. Come to the back, pull on the wheel. There's a small peg that comes undone. Fold this forward and it goes into that circular piece. It doesn't tab in like securely, like tightly, but it's good enough. Rotate this around. So the wheel's there. Flip this piece up. We're going to go ahead and rotate at this upper waist as well. And then we'll rotate these chrome pieces so that they're level to the ground, and fold up or rotate around these red pieces as far as they go. They're about 90 degrees. Like that. Take these two halves that you got from the gun, and they peg in here. Like so. I guess if you want, you can flip them around. It doesn't really matter, but this is the way the instructions show, so we're going to do it that way. And this is the only one that the guy doesn't actually plug in anywhere. He just kind of sits. As far as I can tell, there's no actual mechanism to keep him tightly in there. And you have to spread his legs a bit. And then you can fold that down. Or you can keep it up, I suppose, whatever you want to do. But again, this is kind of the cycle. The biggest downside to this mode is that his head just is pointed down. And that's how it's hidden. I guess you can imagine these as exhaust pipes. But yeah, I wish they did something with that. And again, I don't know what this small movement is supposed to be for. It has a little sliding joint. I'm wondering if maybe that's for their Diaclone. I haven't looked into that figure yet. I do have a review copy of that as well, and I'll do a review on that probably next day or two. So yeah, here are the three cycles. To give you an idea of how big they are, here they are compared with FPCore WB-002. So he's about the same length as FPCore. And you can throw on his trailer. They're about the same length, these two guys. Or maybe these two. terms of width, get an idea like so. All right, let's get you out the way. So as I said, this one's probably like my favorite one just because it looks the most real, not real, but most identifiable as like a vehicle, and it has wheels that actually work. All three wheels work, which is nice. And it does have a seat and a windshield that all kind of resemble something that you would think a vehicle, even a Diaclone's Autobot Cybertronian vehicle would look like. This one, I guess, is okay because this looks like a shovel of some sort, kind of construction vehicle, and has weapons, so maybe some kind of APC or whatever. This one I think is the weakest. The treads don't sit in place and they can angle. I guess maybe that's articulation. You can angle it like that. And he's like sitting so far back from the gun, it's just kind of odd. And I wish the treads locked in here and here on both of these. And this is probably the weakest just because it has hands just hanging out on the side and it's not really an identifiable type of category of vehicle. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the alt modes. Let's go ahead and get transformed back. So let's go ahead and start from the bottom up again. We'll start with the legs. So get these weapons out the way. Unpeg him. Go ahead and transform him. So to transform him, go ahead and rotate the head around on the ball joint. Fold that down. Fold in the two halves. And again, there's an over-under tab on both. You can't just push it in. Well, you probably can, but you might break your figure. So just go ahead and pull it under like that. These tabs will go into the heel section of the leg on each side. There we go. There we go. Let's go ahead and do that for all these guys really quickly. I like the color of this guy just because it's the most Optimus-like, and it also has the Optimus face. So kind of a cool throwback there, I guess. There we go. Here's the third. Alrighty. I do like the Soleron ideas though. And I actually didn't check, but these guys should fit into the steel core trailer that you saw earlier. So those three pieces are done. So here, the first thing I'll do is flip in the windshields. I like going ahead and untabbing the heels here. And then you can untab that. Rotate this heel spur piece around like, how was it? Like that. There we go. Like that. Let's go ahead and get that toe piece correctly out so he stands flat-footed. Untab the rest of his lower leg. Halves, like that. Start straightening them out. Get the treads back. Collapse the legs all the way down. Get the hips rotated forward. Just get them positioned in whichever way you like these thigh pieces arranged. And then lastly, fold this down and then fold this up and that will tab in. Don't fold this first because you'll have a really tough time getting this in. It's designed to go in first and hook around that. So just a little tip there. Definitely don't force it and break your figure. So here's the lower body. We'll go with the chest next. Get these weapons out first. Deal with them later. I'm going to rotate at the upper body, and then at the lower body, we're going to rotate the front wheel. That's going to peg in back here. There we go. These pieces are just going to come around the front, straighten out these red pieces as far as they go. And then you can fold this windshield up. plug that into the lower body. All right. Lastly, untab this gun. Put that off to the side again. The two halves, you're going to go ahead and separate the arms from the seat. Separate these yellow pieces from the wingy pieces. Close those up. On the front, push down on the front to release these tabs. Slide up the treads. And then you're going to fold this back and they kind of lightly tab into place here with these small pegs. It's really this gray piece, once you fold this up, that secures that into place as the backpack. And that tabs in. Straighten out the arms. Open up the arms, or the shoulders. Come on. There we go. Like so. And as before, remember there is a rectangular piece that goes in and then slides up. So plug those in, slide it, the main body up. And if you do that correctly, then you'll get these tabs aligned on the shoulders. You just close that up. And there we go. We have Alpha Trianix Alpha, sorry, in robot mode. We'll go ahead and plug these Solerons back in. Let's just open these up. I'm just rearranging them. I think they call them like configuration A, B, or C, depending on who you have in the chest. But it really doesn't matter. Just close that up. For the gun, this is the core piece. Flip down the handle. You're going to take this piece, tab it in there, bring the other half in, and complete the front of the gun. And then these gray pieces face backwards, like this. And they have this weird U-shaped, or I guess in this orientation, C-shaped tab. And that slides in to his fist. So yeah, final thoughts. I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me to judge this just because I have no nostalgia factor. I do think they have some cool things. I always liked the Warbot line just because I like the core Solerons, like Headmasters. I like that little bot goes into big bot, and also when they transform into alt mode, they can ride the different pieces. And I like how it all kind of combines into a three-piece, kind of a triformer. But I think the alt modes are by and large pretty weak. The cycle is pretty cool. The robot mode overall is okay. Great articulation in most places. Bad articulation in the shoulders. Semi-weird proportions with the kind of gorilla look. Small head, big forearms, giant hands. Kind of a bummer about the gun not fitting into both sides. So, I mean, for me, it's kind of a pass. I wouldn't have picked this up. I was not planning on picking this up, but this review copy came to me. It is a cool figure if you like this homage to Diaclones. And I don't have the Dia Battles, the one that they recently released, but so I can't compare to that. But I think it doesn't do too much of a direct homage to the Dia Battles figures because the three pieces aren't exactly like what the original was. So they're doing their own thing here, but then it's not really a Transformer either that I can recognize. So it's in a weird spot for me. Like, it's cool. There's some cool things going on, but there's no place for this in my collection, even with the Warbot line, just because I don't understand the character. And so there's probably more to it than that. There was no comic with this, which is kind of different because I thought FPCore usually did comics with their releases. So maybe if they integrated it into the story, I could get down with that. But as it stands, it's hard for me to say you should definitely go out and buy it. It's not for me, it might be for you. And if that's the case, definitely pick one up. If you have any questions, or if I missed something, or if you think I did a terrible job because I don't know anything about Diaclone, let me know in the comment section. I will be doing the Di-Z Diatlas remold, or I guess recolor of this in a review pretty soon as well. Alright? That's all for today, everyone. Have a good one.